Once upon a time, in a world where veterans were expected to make do with staged photo ops and empty promises, a new story began to unfold. It wasn't written in the tabloids or splashed across glossy magazines, but echoed quietly in the halls of real service and sacrifice. At the center of this story was Harry, a prince whose recent exploits seemed to revolve more around Netflix contracts and wardrobe changes than boots on the ground. But behind the scenes, Harry was seeking a lifeline for his crumbling Invictus Games, a project once hailed as groundbreaking but now teetering on the edge of irrelevance. Harry's idea was simple: find a hero with real credibility, someone whose name resonated with the veteran community in a way that no royal title ever could. Enter Gary Sinise, the man who embodied Lieutenant Dan, not only on the silver screen but in his everyday life. To millions, Sinise wasn't just an actor. He was a living legend, a tireless advocate for veterans and their families, a humble servant whose actions spoke louder than any red carpet speech. Harry reached out metaphorically. No palace doors knocked, but plenty of emails, intermediaries, and publicists. The proposition was clear: let's align Invictus with Gary's world, maybe even share the stage, the headlines, the glory. But Gary's response? Diplomatic, polite, but unmistakably firm. No thanks. This wasn't just a brush-off. It was a lesson in authenticity. Because while Harry and his entourage were busy curating Instagram feeds and orchestrating PR spectacles, Gary Sinise was building homes for veterans. Literally, he was flying Gold Star families to Disney World, not for a photo op, but to give them a week of genuine joy and healing. With his Lieutenant Dan band, Sinise had performed over 570 shows for troops in war zones and hometowns. No glam squads, no paparazzi, just music and gratitude. Contrast that with Harry's recent contributions: a Netflix documentary, a few interviews, and according to insiders, a wardrobe change every 15 minutes courtesy of Meghan Markle. The Invictus Games, once a symbol of hope and unity, had become a traveling media circus, descending on cities like Birmingham, UK, a city so strapped for cash it could barely collect its own garbage, yet somehow found the budget for Harry's entourage and their ever-present camera crews. Behind the scenes, whispers grew louder. Harry, desperate to infuse Invictus with real credibility, had tried to cozy up to Sinise's operation. The Duke of Sussex hoped to align his brand with genuine efforts like Tunnels to Towers, a charity where Sinise sat at the core. But Gary's answer was more than a simple rejection. It was a clear statement about what matters in the world of veteran support. No room for ego trips, no appetite for hollow speeches. Just humility, heart, and hard work. Meanwhile, as Sinise marked the 30th anniversary of Forrest Gump with heartfelt tributes and the launch of a foundation named after his late son, Harry was busy orchestrating the next Invictus spectacle. The contrast couldn't have been starker. Sinise amplified real veteran stories on his podcast, raised millions without ever chasing the spotlight, and blushed at every mention of his achievements. In another corner of the world, Harry seemed to have mastered the art of collecting humanitarian awards, but not the substance behind them. Let's pause and consider. One man takes families of fallen soldiers to Disney World. The other charters private jets to accept trophies of questionable significance. One man rocks out in dusty hangars for service members who crave a taste of home. The other organizes press conferences and opulent galas. The difference isn't subtle, it's seismic. Sinise could raise more for veterans with a single acoustic set than the entire Invictus operation could conjure up with a season's worth of Netflix drama. He does it quietly, without drama, without headlines, and crucially, without needing the cameras to keep rolling. And when the applause fades, Sinise keeps showing up. No need for hashtags, no craving for validation. Harry should have taken notes. Instead of seeking out a shortcut to credibility, he ended up learning a lesson in humility. Because when you mistake PR stunts for purpose, you get politely ghosted by the real heroes of the world. That's the price of chasing legacy through optics rather than substance. There's an old saying, character is what you do when no one is watching. For Gary Sinise, it's what he's always done. He didn't just play a soldier in a blockbuster film, he became a champion for those who served, long after the credits rolled. There's no glitz, no glam, just grit and a deep well of compassion that seems to grow with every passing year. In the world of celebrity charity, it's easy to confuse visibility for value. Harry and Meghan, with their high-profile moves and curated public personas, have often been accused of chasing the former while missing the latter. Meghan, self-styled Duchess of Wardrobe Changes, couldn't be bothered to wear a single piece of Invictus merchandise. Not a cap, not a t-shirt, just designer labels that whispered, "I'm totally relatable, I promise." The message was received, though perhaps not as intended. Meanwhile, Sinise's authenticity resonated in every quiet gesture. He didn't need to remind people of his impact. They felt it. Families who had lost everything found solace in his generosity. Veterans, struggling to adapt to civilian life, discovered hope in the programs he funded. Children who grew up without parents because of war found moments of laughter and joy because Gary cared enough to make it happen. The truth is, legacy isn't something you can fabricate with PR teams or Instagram campaigns. It's earned, day by day, in the trenches and on the front lines of real need. Sinise could win the Pat Tillman Award 10 times over and still blush when you bring it up. Harry, on the other hand, sometimes looks like he Googled how to buy humanitarian awards and hit checkout with a charity's credit card. This isn't to say that Invictus hasn't done good work. At its best, it has given wounded veterans a stage, a sense of purpose, and a community. But somewhere along the way, the spotlight shifted from the competitors to the organizers, from the mission to the message. And when that happens, something essential is lost. So what's the lesson here? Maybe it's that real impact doesn't need a megaphone. Maybe it's that humility will always outshine hubris in the long run. Or maybe it's that the world is hungry for true heroes, the kind who show up, do the work, and disappear quietly when the job is done. As the curtain falls on another Invictus Games, and Harry jets off to his next engagement, the contrast with Sinise's ongoing, relentless service couldn't be clearer. One man is building a legacy that will last generations. The other is still searching for his place in the world. If Harry wants to be more than a footnote in the story of veterans' advocacy, he could do worse than take a masterclass from Lieutenant Dan. Because Gary Sinise didn't just play a role, he embraced a calling. He became the kind of hero we rarely see, and even more rarely recognize. In a world that values headlines over heart, maybe it's time we started paying attention to the Gary Sinises among us. The ones who don't need applause to do the right thing, who don't need cameras to keep showing up. They remind us that service is its own reward, that legacy is built in quiet moments, and that sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones you never see coming. So next time you hear about a celebrity cause or a royal charity gala, ask yourself, is this about the mission or the messenger? Is it about serving others or serving themselves? The answer, more often than not, is written in the lives they touch and the lives they change. Harry, if you're listening, take notes, because this is what legacy looks like. And the world is watching, even when you think no one is.